Bringing you the voice and vision of custom culture and lifestyle, as seen through the eyes of this South Texas duo. Welcome to the Custom Couple. But yeah, man, let's jump into it. Fred, welcome to the Custom Couple.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Folks, Fred reached out to us, and we've been talking back and forth, and we're really wanting to get you on the show last week, and you had a car show coming up that you had to get busy on, so we got you on now, so that's good stuff, man. What's been going on?
Man, been busy. So I just started a towing company not too long ago, and I'm the only employee, so I work 7 days a week, on call 24-hour business, so it's pretty much work. Yeah.
No, we know that struggle when you're the only employee of a business. Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, it gets tough, man.
What made you want to do a towing company, though?
So I've done towing on and off since I was like 18, and I started with, so I want to say about 2 years ago, I opened up a motorcycle shop with one of my buddies, and that went really well, but I found out quick that I hate the maintenance side of it.
Yeah.
And that sucks because maintenance pays the bills. I'm just more of like, I want to do the fabrication. I want to design cool shit. And it was a lot of maintenance stuff. And I was like, man, it got to a point where like, I didn't even want to be in the shop after hours to work on my own stuff. So we went separate ways. I started towing again, and I was like, so let me back it up a little bit. So I guess the towing business started with, I got accepted to build a motorcycle for the Greasy Dozen.
Oh, okay.
That old bike barn puts on.
Yeah.
Which ended up being super rough. This was like in the beginning of COVID. So the world shut down and was like trying to order parts and stuff. It was hell. So I built a 1980 shovelhead and did a swing arm chopper because people wrote into my show that I do with my buddy, which is the Lowlife Chopper Podcast. And they were pretty much like, you just hate swing arms. You're only a rigid guy. So I was like, let me build a swing arm bike and like show what my definition of what a swing arm chopper would be. So I built that whole thing. And again, it's just not my style. So I was like, I'm going to get rid of this thing and use that money to start my towing company. So sold the shovelhead, bought a tow truck, a service truck, and enclosed motorcycle trailer. And here I am working my life away.
But I mean, that's a huge, deal right there. Like we've had a lot of business owners as guests on our show, people that have just gotten into the industry, and they decided in the midst of a pandemic that starting a business was a good idea.
Yeah.
And we've had several people on, and really it worked out for a lot of people. Some folks they were starting businesses before the shutdown, and then they were had to change from plan A to plan B to figure out how this business that I just started, how am I gonna make it work now. And
right.
So you jumped in and bought a bunch of equipment, but towing, I can see that as not a business that would ever go away. It's kind of like
right.
liquor stores in Texas.
Yep. Yeah, and the good thing too is, so I was able to get a decent amount for that shovelhead, and I probably wouldn't have started the business if I didn't. So with selling the shovelhead, I was able to just buy the truck outright, so no payments. Buy the trailer outright, so no payments. So it's like my overhead is, and my shop is at my house. You know what I mean? So if anything, I'm saving money because now I get to write my shop off.
There you go.
So there's no overhead, so it's really not too stressful. You know what I mean? I
Right.
pretty much just have to be able to maintain, and that's it, man.
Hey, yeah, when you can get into that situation, that's always the best. Where it's like very little to no overhead is what
Right.
every business strives for.
Yeah.
Not having a shop that you have to pay rent on, not having equipment. I mean, well, you got equipment that has to be maintained, but you're done paying it off. There's a lot of folks that jump into a business and they're in debt for the first 10 years just trying to get all their
Yeah.
equipment paid off. So
Yeah, and tow trucks are no joke, man. If you buy a new one, you're looking at like $120,000 to $150,000.
isn't that crazy, man?
So, yeah, a lot of people go into it with a big overhead. And I was like, you know what? I'm a pretty handy guy. I've been wrenching since I was literally in diapers. I'm like, I'm going to get an older truck. And that's essentially what I did. I got an older truck, went through the entire truck, replaced everything that needed to be replaced, and now things good to go.
So you grew up wrenching on stuff. Was your old man a mechanic?
Yeah, so my old man, he was really big into like the hot rods. So I grew up in that, like literally my entire life, just like sitting in the driver's seat. My dad was adjusting his six pack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just grew up around. I've literally been wrenching my entire life.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've talked with a lot of folks that and I always envy the ones that got to grow up in it, because I learned mechanics when I got my first truck and had to start working on it because it was breaking down about every other weekend, and I wanted to go out. And
Yep.
my dad, he worked in an office most of his career and wasn't a car guy. Now I find out years later he loved cars. He just never saw that they had any use in his life, so I didn't grow up in hot rods. I would have loved that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I always tell my wife it's a blessing and a curse.
yeah.
Because it's funny because like the part I love the most, and I always tell people about this, about like the chopper side. I still haven't decided if I like building the bikes more or riding the bikes.
Right, like I'm the same way with cars. Like for a while there, I got tired of getting projects. Though I got tired of I go buy a car, I want to drive it, and now we're stuck on the side of the road somewhere because I jumped the gun too quick.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like I'm right there. Like sometimes it is more fun to just hang out in the driveway and do something. But then like it's those test drives that really get your adrenaline going.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the first summer in 5 years that I haven't had a project and all of my toys are on the road.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. This is because I usually start something new every winter. And this year I was like, I'm just going to enjoy the stuff that I got. And well, actually, kind of. So I built a 77 Camaro Z28.
Oh, okay.
And I bought it as a roller and had plans on throwing a 454 in it. That motor ended up not coming through. The guy just like ghosted me. Never heard from him again after I bought the roller.
Oh man.
So one of my buddies is big into LSs, and he was like, just LS swap it. You can make a bunch of power for about the same price you're going to pay for the big block. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. Never messed with an LS in my life. Got this LS, and of course I couldn't just throw it in. I ended up tearing it completely down to nothing. All new pistons, rods, cam, literally went through the entire motor.
Wow.
3,500 stall. Ridiculous. The thing was super fast, a lot of fun. But the thing I didn't like about it is everything needed a computer.
Right.
And it rarely turned, like, I get it. They're easy to make power, they're reliable, but I had to pay somebody $500 to put it on a dyno and add 12 degrees of timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't like that. Like I said, I've grown up with like a gearhead, so I like tinkering with stuff. So even though that was one of my dream cars, I ended up getting rid of that. I want to say November and found a guy that was local to me, actually, that had a 39 Chevy pickup. That was like a rat rod project. And got that guy to just do an even swap with me. So just been tinkering that thing over the winter. Finally got that road ready, and actually went out cruising in it today.
Did you really?
Yep.
Man, the weather here is it was raining a little bit yesterday, but we were able to take the 59 out. So, Sam has just been chomping at the bit to be able to drive her car. We drove it a month ago to the car show. Its first car show. It made it out and had little to no problems, and we couldn't be more happy with it. And then it sat for 3 weeks while we've been working and busy with a bunch of things. So
right,
she finally gets to take it out over this past weekend, and we just drove it all over the place, and she is just stoked about it. But man, like it's those moments where you're actually like able to get the cars out of the corral and go and run them up and down the road. And we just been dealing with some rainy weather the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
But you're up in the New England area, right? New Hampshire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I'm out of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Our weather is super weird as well, but it's like right around this time of the year, it could literally just snow any day.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then be 70 the day before. It's completely out of whack.
Yeah, you're used to some weird weather up there, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it's funny because like in the wintertime, you just get so used to it being like 20 degrees out. So then as soon as springtime comes and it's like 55, you're like, break out the motorcycles, break out the hot rods. It's go time.
Yeah, here in Texas, when it's 55, we're in heavy coats and snow boots, even though we've never seen snow. Or in South Texas, I have to address that. South Texas, folks. So our friends up in North Texas and Dallas and Denton area, they always give me shit for it because they're like, it snows every year here and y'all never seen it. And I was like, well, yeah, we had it one time and it shut down San Antonio. So yeah, 55 degrees. We're putting on coats and we're like, no, the car might not start today.
That's funny.
Really, it's just our excuse not to get out in the hot rod that it's freeze your ass off while you're driving down the street.
I would say it was probably like 55, maybe 60 today.
Oh,
and me and
man.
my buddy's just in tank tops out front of his shop. I'm swapping out the V belts in the front of my 350, doing smoke shows in a t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I've started to get used to it. My last hot rod didn't have a roof on it, so there was a few moments where I was like, it's cold as shit right now, but I'm gonna run this thing down the road just because I'm getting cabin fever, and I've gotten used to some of the colder weather, but man, once we hit into the summer months, it's too hot to drive anything. So
right.
Yeah, we go from the extremes here.
Yeah, we have. I mean, our winter sucks. We get a bunch of snow. The summertime's not that bad though, man. Like you're looking on average like mid 80s. Sometimes it'll hit like 90. Awesome. You know what I mean? So summertime is really nice, but winter just really sucks.
Yeah, I bet, man. When did you and your buddy start the podcast? What was it called again?
It's the Lowlife Chopper Podcast.
Yeah.
And so we've been running now for, I think we're going on 5 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, something like that, 4 or 5 years.
Man, that's a good running podcast, man.
Yeah. We've been doing good, and we've dropped an episode every single Friday.
Oh wow.
Religiously the whole time.
Yeah, we're doing the once a week thing too, and man, there's sometimes where we're like behind and like we're having to get a bunch of stuff recorded last minute, and then there's some weeks where we scheduled a bunch of recordings and we're like 5 or 10 in the bank, and we're like, all right, we're gold right now. We don't we don't have to record anything for a little while. So
we definitely have those weeks where we're recording Thursday night. and my buddy's like editing everything up and dropping it 6 hours later. So yeah, it still happens.
What made you want to start a podcast?
So I never even knew what a podcast was before. I think I learned about podcasts like probably a month before we started ours.
Yeah.
And I never had Instagram or anything like that. My buddy was like, I just started building choppers and stuff. And he was like, dude, you got to get on Instagram. That's where you find all the parts. It's like a big swap meet. And I'm like, okay. And then he got me listening to this podcast called Riders on the Norm.
Okay.
And these guys were pretty much doing that with like talking about like building choppers and like building mini bikes, just like whatever was going on in their like everyday life. And that podcast ended up ending. And I was like, dude, I'm fucking hooked on this now. Like, I'm sure other people are missing this. We need to start a podcast.
Right. Yeah.
And
find a need and jump on it.
Yeah. And it took like probably a couple of weeks for me to convince my buddy to do it. But yeah, he ended up agreeing to it. And here we are. Like, I think we're going to like either 4 or 5 years, one of the two.
Man, that's so awesome. Yeah, I listened to a few podcasts, mostly to do with hot rods and
Yep.
things of like that. But I got into podcasting because I was running a media business, and my brother was like, "Hey, you need to check out this podcast. It's an entrepreneur that tells you how to do business better." And
Right.
So I started listening to this guy's podcast, and he was like just completely raw, like did not give a fuck about anything. And like, and then he said it just like that too. And like, it was just one of those things where I was like, oh man, this dude is, a guru. I need to follow everything that this guy's doing. And so I'd listened to his podcast for like 3 weeks solid. I was just binging his podcast, right? All the previous episodes that I've missed, everything. And like one day I was just like, I'm going to follow everything that this guy's saying to do, but I'm also going to do what he does. And I just started a car podcast out of the blue, and I was like, I'm going to do this and talk about hot rods and custom culture. And I did that for about 100 episodes, and we laid it to rest a few years ago. And then when I married Sama, she was like wanting to get into cars and wanting to get into doing cool shit, and I was all about it. So I was like, "Hey, cool, let's do that." And she was like, "Hey, let's start another podcast," because we were talking about doing it. And she went and bought all the equipment for my birthday one year, and I was like, "All right, cool, we're doing a podcast then."
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So it's cool,
so
man.
Our like main reason for starting the podcast was with choppers. It's like you just think that you're like on an island and nobody else is doing it, because when you're riding around, you just see a bunch of dudes on baggers and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you go to shows and you don't know anybody. You know what I mean? And like chopper shows are few and far between at this point. And we're both just now like getting heavy into building choppers, like all in-house shit. So we're like, if anything, even if people don't listen to it, we're going to document this process.
There you go. That's a big part of it.
Right. And man, it ended up like going into we have the craziest following. It is fucking mind-blowing. Like, these people are batshit crazy. Dude, it's so funny, but it's like it's just turned into like its own community of like, you could, if you listen to the show, you can just like tag us in a post and be like, hey, I'm cross-countrying this chopper. This is the date I'm leaving. This is the date I get to California. And people just be like, hey, I'm in Idaho. Hit me up. I got a place for you. I'm in Washington. Hit me up. I got a place for you. So it's like turned into this huge community just over two guys like sitting in a hodgepodge studio talking shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, that is so cool. Like, I absolutely love that kind of stuff, man. We talked with the guy that does Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes, that podcast.
Yep.
Travis. Yep. and he was talking about that, where like listeners of his show helped him get across country when his car started breaking down while he was doing his 48 states 48 cars 48 states tour.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I that's really cool. Y'all've got a following like that, where where even followers of the show are supporting each other. I think
Right.
that's wild, man.
It's wild. Yeah, it's wild, man. And like we've met people, like we have good friends in like Australia and Japan and Germany and Sweden. It's absolutely mind blowing, man.
Isn't it so rad, like how like American culture, like the Americana like lifestyle is just huge in other places right now?
Yeah, it's wild.
Dude, I absolutely love seeing, when people pop up from like Australia and Germany and Japan, and they're following what we're doing on Facebook and Instagram, and and they're leaving us, hey, check out this bike that I'm building, and check out this hot rod I'm building, or check out this video of our cars going down the highways in Japan. And it's like, man, it's so cool to see that in other places.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a trip, man. Having a podcast is probably one of the coolest things I've ever fucking done, honestly. Because like I literally go anywhere. Like we travel a bunch for shows.
Yeah.
And man, we go anywhere, and it's like you've known that person forever. You know what I mean? Like we don't know any of them by name. We just know them by Instagram handles. That's
right.
Like how we communicate with people. But it's so rad, dude. Like we went to South Carolina for the Back Road barbecue run, which is coming up in a few weeks, and dude, that's like 1,000+ miles from my house, and everybody there knew who I was. Everybody was so nice, like took care of us while we were down there. It was awesome.
Oh, that is really cool. That is absolutely cool, man. We're just now being able to start traveling out to car shows again, and we've just been crazy busy, and then we've been stacking up cash to be able to go on these trips, because it doesn't take much to start racking up a bill.
Oh,
and
man.
we've gone to a couple car shows now. We've been invited out to car shows, and of course Sama loves to get involved with the pinup side of all of it too. So so she's going to be a contestant in some car shows this year. And we've already started getting people like messaging us like, hey, I'm going to see you at this show. And then like a few weeks ago, we went to a car show, and about 4 different people came up to us just, hey, we listened to the show. We love what you're doing. And it's like, man, like you don't realize who is listening or how many people are listening until those kind of moments start happening to you.
Right.
But, shit, like y'all are going out to chopper shows and bike shows, and just getting mobbed, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so like what we ended up doing, because we found that too, is it's hard to travel because it's not cheap, especially when you're bringing bikes and like equipment or whatever you're doing. So we took on a few sponsors that are like really grassroots into like what we do, like Lowbrow Customs, Built Well, all those guys. And then we started a Patreon as well. And every month we have somebody like that in the culture. They'll do a giveaway. So they get free advertisement for the entire month, and then just give away one of their products to one of our listeners.
Oh, cool.
And so it's like people are winning stuff, and then we're getting a little bit of money, and we use that money to travel. And then in September, we have a big show up here called the Deadbeat Retreat. And that's pretty much just like a weekend at a campground that's on a river. And it's just a chopper party for the entire weekend.
Oh,
so
wow.
we fly out one of our Patreon subscribers to the show. We pay their airfare and everything, get them out here, get them on a bike, pay for their entire weekend, all their camping gear, and then they get to party with us for the weekend, then we fly them back home.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, and that's just all done through Patreon and stuff, man. It's really cool because it gives people like the giveaway thing's really easy because people that like say small businesses that like in the hard rock community, somebody that makes like custom valve covers or something, you know what I mean? And they're like brand new and they can't afford advertising. You can make, listen, we'll give you a full month's advertising. Just give away whatever you make to one of our guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's a win-win for everybody. And then we get to travel, we get to fly people in. So it works out good.
Yeah, and then of course, then people are listening to your show. You're getting more of their downloads on your, all of the, all of your metrics are going up at that
Right.
point because people are going, I listened to this show and I checked this out, then man, I got a chance to win something. That's a
Right.
great way to go about it, man.
Yep. And then I also do pinstriping. So that pays for a lot of the shows that I go to. I'll always like, if it's a weekend show, I'll go there and like party and hang out Friday, wake up Saturday morning, pinstripe for like 5-6 hours, make my money for the show, and then party for the rest of the night. And that pays for my trip usually.
That's awesome. When
Yeah.
did you get into pinstriping? Is that something you started off as a kid?
Nope. So I used to tattoo when I was younger.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting out of that. The shop life just like wasn't for me. I really, because I don't know, I just like being like on a personal level with people, and so I prefer tattooing just like out of my own place. And I ended up getting out of that, whatever. And then I came into pinstriping only just over a year ago, and I have one of the local guys around here is phenomenal at pinstriping. His name's, they call him Stitch. And so he took me under his wing and literally just fed me all of the information.
Wow.
And he was like, if you want to be good, you need to dedicate every spare moment you have to this. So I dedicated 1 hour every single night, 7 days a week for a year straight. And dude, I'm definitely not as good as Stitch is, but I progressed very fast because I was pinstriping every single night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just really like got it down pat and like figured out my own style and all this stuff. And
I mean, that's what it takes, man, for, any kind of skill. Like, if it's what you really want to do, like being able to sit down and practice your art and practice, the craft of it, and getting those, to where it becomes, what is it? Like muscle memory.
like muscle memory. Yeah.
Being able to do those kind of things, that's what it takes. And a lot of people, they'll do it for a week, and then they'll, I've got softball practice, or I've got whatever else, and and then I'll practice more tomorrow. I'll do twice as much, tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes the busiest day of the year.
Yep.
Because everything is always going to happen tomorrow, right?
Right.
So.
I think I had a leg up on it because, like I said, I had the tattooing battooing. I was super into graffiti when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just like a little skater punk when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So I was like super into graffiti and tattooing and all that stuff. And so I feel like that gave me a leg up. And with pinstriping, man, like even if you've been pinstriping for 10 years, if you just stop for 6 months, when you start again, you suck.
Yeah, I can imagine it takes a little bit to get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see where that would be the case. We've got a few pinstripers here in the Texas area, and then our buddy Dan up in St. Louis. He's a phenomenal artist.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked him out, he's a Knucklehead Custom Art, and dude, he is an absolutely phenomenal artist. Pinstriping, lettering, all of it, man.
Nice.
Do you do any of that? Do you do lettering?
So I mess with the lettering a little bit. I definitely wouldn't call myself a letterer. I really like the traditional, like old school pinstriping, like Ed Roth style.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like you like that American traditional kind of lettering, like that, like the Sailor Jerry type shit.
Yeah.
So I do that kind of stuff. I can do like graffiti stuff. But lettering's definitely not my bread and butter for sure.
No, I can imagine it does take quite a bit of practice and skill level, to practice just lettering on a daily basis. Like it's
tough.
That's its own whole realm.
Yeah. I'll tell you, man, pinstriping was probably one of the hardest things I've ever tried to learn to do.
Oh, I did it once.
It's one of the most frustrating process.
Yeah, I did it once, and I was like, nope, I'm not an artist in the first place. Why did I even try this?
Yeah, because you're literally like telling your brain everything that you learned your whole life is wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the way you hold the brush is not how you hold anything else you would ever draw with. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a very weird thing.
Yeah, that's funny, man. What was your first car when you were in high school? Like growing up, what was the first thing you were gonna drive?
So my first car I ever owned, super irresponsible with my parents. I was 16 years old, and my uncle had a Fox Body Mustang that was just gutted, roll cage, was strictly a track car.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and my dad was like, "Hey, your uncle's selling that car. I'll buy you the roller, but the motor and trans and all the work is on you." I was like, "Deal." So I ended up putting. I'm not a Ford guy by any means. I've grown up like Chevy till I die type deal, and I'm still a Chevy guy. But if I'm getting a free roller, I'm building it.
There you go.
So I ended up putting a 351 Cleveland in it, and lost my license 2 weeks after I got it. Yeah. So, yeah.
I can
My mom
imagine
ended
why.
up selling the car. Yeah, I was pissed.
I can imagine why.
Yeah, she sold the car and was like, "This thing's way too fast. It's a death trap," and then gave me an '88 Camaro with like a 2.8 in it. I'm like, "Are you shitting me?" I just had a full blown race car, and you give me this thing,
Right? You just pedal all the way to the floor, and you're just a turtle in it.
Yep.
Man, yeah. Speaking of Fox bodies, I just got an article, and I was talking with our buddy Greg about it. He's been on our show a bunch. He does a lot of buying and selling and auction type stuff, and he was telling us that Fox bodies are going nuts right now. Yeah. And I was just talking with him on another episode of ours, and there's a Saline '93 Mustang that sold for like $226,000.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. My buddy sent it to me. He sent me the article for it, but it's like, man, Fox body Mustangs and like mid '90s Camaros are just going, like are popular as hell right now.
Yeah. Even when I bought that Camaro roller last year, that was a '77 Z28, just a roller, no driveline at all, and I paid $3,500 for that.
Damn.
Yeah.
We were giving those away like just 15 years ago.
Yeah. Same with the square bodies. The square body Chevys, those things are through the roof right now.
Oh, I know, man. My first truck was a '79, and every single day that I scrolling through Facebook Marketplace and I'm seeing square bodies, I'm like, man, I wish I still had that truck.
Yeah, that's the one that I always tell people, the one that I let get away.
Yeah,
at a '77 short bed.
Oh. Yeah, that would have been a badass truck for sure. I had a '79. It was a Silverado long bed, and I actually had to leave big ass cinder blocks in the tail end, or it would fishtail around any corner. It could be dry as hell outside, and I'd still fishtail a corner. I had to weigh down my bed just to keep the back tires on the ground.
That's funny.
But that truck was so rad. That was the first thing I had was a square body, and man, they are going like crazy right now.
Yeah, those things will always be the love of my life. I love them. Whether it's the 4x4 or the C10s, I just love them all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A buddy of mine's looking for a 4-door right now with a what is it, the K20, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, he's looking the 4-door, 4-wheel drive. I mean, but if you find one, they're just going for ridiculous amounts of money. So.
Yeah, crazy money right now.
What's popular up in the New England area right now?
So hot rod, there's a huge hot rod scene out here. Like really big hot rod scene. which is really cool because, like I said, I've grown up around that. My grandfather still to this day builds some serious hot rods.
Really?
Yeah, he's what is he, 78, and he daily drives a rat truck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a badass.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, because a lot of folks that I've talked to, like in the Midwest area, rat rods are going like crazy. Like that's kind of the big thing going on right now. We've been a lot more into traditional hot rods and jalopies and custom cars, like down
yep,
down where we're at, and the folks that we run around with on a normal basis, that's just kind of what we're all into. But
yeah.
I've been seeing where like the different parts of the country, it depends on a lot of what you can get your hands on too.
Yeah,
But we're
that's the thing
seeing,
that's tough about the Northeast is with our winters comes all the salt. They
yes,
salt all the roads, so our cars just go to shit fast. Um, as far as the car scene, I would say a lot of it is like what you're saying, the traditional like 60s, 70s muscle cars. Like you
hmm
have like the 69 Camaros and like that stuff and the Vets and all that, like the 54 Ford Coupes. It's like a lot of traditional hot rod stuff. The rat rod scene is not big over here at all.
really.
Yeah, it's I think it's starting to make a little bit of like a scene here, but it's still very, very small.
Well, you've got a hot rod truck. When did you said you picked that up just recently, or have you had that for a
Yeah,
little
I picked that
bit?
up about 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Was it running when you got it, or you did a full build on it?
So it was running when I got it, but the guy that mm, did the work on it was not a car guy.
Yeah, you just kind of put it
He was a
together to get it
guy,
running.
yeah, he was a guy just like trying to get it together. Used like a flux core welder on the entire car. It was
Oh
very, very
no.
bad. Yeah, so I pretty much spent the entire winter just I repainted it, swapped out the wheels, tore all the air ride out, redid the entire air ride, redid all the suspension front and rear, freshened up the motor, just tons and tons of shit.
What's the motor that it's got in it?
It's got the roller rocker Vortex 350.
Oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
nice. I had that in the little Model A that I had.
Yep.
It's a wonderful engine, and you
Yeah,
can
I
find
love it.
parts for it all day long.
Yep. The only thing that sucks about it is I have a B&M the 144 supercharger, the small ones.
Oh, okay.
So I got one of those, but the intake setup is for the earlier 350.
Oh, okay. So has they have that intake that's like a direct bolt on for
Yeah.
Edelbrock,
Yep.
and it's like $100 more than your regular intake manifold, but
Right.
it's for because those center bolts are cantered just a little bit, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I had that same setup, but I didn't have it was just natural aspirated. I didn't have any superchargers or anything on it. Um, and that thing, I would love just running it down the road, and just a buddy of mine down the street from me rebuilt the carburetor for it, and we put it on, and I mean that thing just ran like a top constantly, and once you have it tuned just right, I mean there's nothing that can really beat that, especially when you're in
Yeah.
a light little truck like what you're driving and what I had.
Yeah.
That
And
you
it
know
boogies with that thing too, man.
yeah, it does. I bet it does.
Yeah, it boogies. Yeah, I had to deal with a lot of that too, because like when I got it, the timing was way off. The carb just wasn't set right. Like if you try to just stomp it from a stop, the thing would just fall on its face. So like, it
Right.
was just like I said, just like everything was thrown together. I think I got at the point now, like what you're saying is like it's dialed in. Like I can just cruise at 60 in that thing and be fine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome, man. What's the furthest you've driven in it so far?
I haven't gone too far in it yet. I've just been beating it around pretty much like pretty local, within like 40, 50 miles of the house. Um, but I cruise it almost daily. If like I'm going somewhere, I'm hopping in that thing. And
Yeah.
I'm just trying to feel it out because I know I'm going to go further this summer. So I'm trying to get everything worked out of it now. Um, and so my biggest problem with this when he did the front end, he didn't Z the frame at all. So it's just like a straight frame in the front, and then it's C notched in the rear.
Mm-hmm.
So if you dump the bags even a little bit, the oil pan's almost on the ground.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, God damn it. Like he mounted the motor way too goddamn low because he didn't want to tunnel out the cab so the transmission would fit. So that's been one of my battles so far because I'm a firm believer if you got airbags, you better be able to lay that thing on the ground. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Salmon's 59 Buick has airbags on it. And it does. It goes all the way to the ground. And everybody was like, how are you doing this? Well, we still have the original rear end in the car, the original transmission in the car. And the guy who we got the car from, he had all of this set up already when we got it. So I'm not taking credit for any of it, but nobody can understand how a closed drive shaft is able to allow this car to go all the way to the ground, but it does.
Yeah,
it absolutely does. And one of the things that we're starting to see with it is that the original transmissions, they're iron. And the rear seals on them are terrible. So if we leave the front airbags up and we dump the back transmission fluid, will start coming out the tail shaft.
Yep. Yeah, I have that same exact problem. Same problem, man.
But you're absolutely right, man. If you got bags, what's the point of having them if you can't just go all the way to the floor with them?
Right. So that's pretty much. I've been messing with that a little bit, but I'm trying because we're in the season now. You know what I mean? So I don't want to do work that's going to take it off the road.
Yep.
So pretty much just in the planning stage for that now. I got to move a couple cross members that he put in the bed because they're literally right over the axle. So when you dump the bags now, he put like a piece of like 3-inch square stock over the rear end. So when you drop it, that square stock lands right on the rear end. I'm like, you just took 3 inches away from the drop just by doing that.
Yeah, was he just putting that in there for stability of the bed?
It's not even the bed's like 3.5 feet long, so it's like I don't know what he was trying to make stable, but
we're cutting that out.
Cut out around the pumpkin and just box around the pumpkin with it.
Yeah,
and then I'll be able to get that at least those 3 inches.
There you go. Yeah, we're getting rid of that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Man, it's funny whenever you get a new project and you kind of start going through it, and you can kind of tell maybe this part of the project the guy didn't know really what he was trying to accomplish. Right. I've gone through some cars where it's just like, what the hell was he doing? Yeah.
There's a lot of that on this one. I'm not mad about it though because the bones are there, you know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
So I have like a nice platform to work off of, and I've also never done anything with airbags. I've never been an airbag guy. So I'm still right now, like he doesn't even have a 4-link set up in it. And I'm like, you need a 4-link.
I was going to say on that, you said on the front end of it's straight. Do you have any trouble with wobble at all? Is it trying to dance on the road if you hit some high speeds?
So it had pretty wide tires on the front when I got it.
Oh, okay.
And I switched it out and put those skinny drag wheels up front. And man, I can cruise at 60 miles an hour with just my wrist on the wheel now.
Oh, that's awesome.
But before it was like 2 hands and you're like fighting that thing down the road.
Oh, because it's gripping everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Those bigger, wider tires. They serve a good purpose in some occasions, but yeah, when you're going down a highway and it's just grabbing onto everything, it becomes a very, very
scary, dude.
scary when you're
Yeah,
trying
like
to steer.
switching lanes by itself, scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And-
my biggest thing too is like I'm trying to figure out how to put bags up front, but it's an open cab. You know, like there's no hood, there's no fenders.
right.
So I don't want like just the bags just sitting out there because I feel like it looks weird when people do that. So I'm trying to figure out that part of it. So
One
we'll
of
see
the
what happens,
guys
I guess.
in our car club, Todd, he was actually on our podcast early last year. He's got a little rat truck that it's completely bagged out all the way around. I'll take a look at how he set his up and see if I can send you some pictures of it.
Yeah, yeah. I was also thinking like, you know, those like little mini Heineken kegs.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about just dropping 2 of those on the front frame and hiding the bags inside of that.
Oh, that's a cool idea. That's absolutely a cool idea. Definitely.
So, yeah, that's an option.
So what have you got planned for the summer and these months that are coming up that a lot of car shows and bike shows are going to start happening?
Yeah. So mostly I think the chopper side weighs a lot heavier on me. It was kind of like a fuck you to everybody, you know what I mean? Because like my whole family is like the hot rod guys, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, this is my own way into this. You know what I mean? I wanted to do something different, and I just got so, and like the podcast helped a lot. I just got like so sucked into that culture, and like that group of people that do like the chopper shit just like really fits who I am. So I'm really heavy into the chopper stuff. So I'd say 90% of the stuff I'll be doing this summer will definitely be chopper stuff. And for the fact the guy that mentored me for pinstriping, he does a lot of hot rod shit. So I don't like to pinstripe at that kind of stuff, because I feel like that's like stepping on his toes a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
But I'll definitely be hitting some car shows and stuff with the rat rod. But I would say most of them, man, it's going to be a lot of traveling on the chopper and seeing where that brings me.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, usually up and down the East Coast mostly.
Yeah, and I need to make a trip out there. Sama and I, like I said earlier, we're starting to do more traveling. I've got brothers that live on the East Coast, South Carolina. My oldest
nice.
brother, he's in Georgia, Atlanta. So
Yep.
we definitely need to start heading east and see what's going on out there. Of course, everybody in the hot rod scene always wants to head west, and it's already been done. We will make a trip to California at some point. We have a couple invites that we need to take up the offers on.
How far are you from Cali? Not that far, right?
Oh no, we're in San Antonio, so it's about a 24-hour drive.
Oh shit!
To get out to the West Coast. I would say it's about a 9-hour drive just to get out of Texas for us. So
Wow.
yeah,
I always forget Texas is that goddamn big. That's like Florida.
where we're at we're 9 hours to El Paso, we're 8 hours to Louisiana, and about 8 hours to Oklahoma. So yeah, we're kind of right in the middle of it.
Yep.
But I think we're gonna probably make more trips east than west, but we definitely do have some friends that have hit us up, and we're planning on going west for some specific things. But I want to just check out what's going on all over the place. Really, I want to take the podcast on the road and be able to go and talk with people in person and go to these car shows and see what makes people tick. Like how,
it's cool when you travel to shows too. Cause like, I'm sure, when you're hitting the same shows in your area, you're just seeing the same shit every time.
Absolutely.
Which is not saying it's not cool, cause it's cool. There's a lot of cool shit that around everybody, but it's like when I went out to South Carolina, I was just mind blown. So I'm like meeting people I've never talked to, seeing bikes that I've never seen. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to see like the difference from where you're from to how people are doing it somewhere else.
Yes. And that's one of the big things that Sama's hit on recently, is that she wants to go to some of the shows that aren't getting media coverage. you know, and go to these places that are, you know, it's a fairly big show, you know, in numbers wise, but like nobody in the, you know, magazine world is covering it, and nobody in the, you know, nobody's posting pictures of it, you know, just the people that have gone. And we want to kind of get some exposure to some newer shows that are happening. And you know, there's a few shows that have been going on for, you know, 5 almost 10 years, some of them, and they're still kind of their own like hidden gem, you know.
So that's how a lot of the shows are on the East Coast. I feel like the East Coast doesn't get too much coverage on stuff because people just think we just sleep all the time because it's always snowing.
I like that.
Yeah, it's funny, man. It's crazy. Like when we started the podcast, man, people had no idea that there was other people doing the same shit. And like people would write in and was like, dude, because of the podcast, I found out a guy who lived the next street over from me builds choppers. And like they literally lived within like 1,000 yards of each other and had not a goddamn clue.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Wow. Yeah. Do y'all have a YouTube channel or anything that y'all post videos of too?
So we don't really do the videos or anything. Everything that we do is just on any kind of like podcast streaming platform.
Oh, okay.
And on Instagram.
Yeah, we haven't jumped. We created the YouTube, but we haven't jumped on it and like really posted a whole lot of anything to it because we've just been rolling good with the podcast. We have a decent following with the people that are listening to it and writing in. So we just haven't gone to that level, but you know, I can imagine that, you know, y'all would do some stuff with you know, just going out to the car shows or the chopper shows and the bike shows. You know, start pumping out some videos of that because I'm sure your listeners will start getting interested in seeing the, you know, the places you've been to. Yeah, because that's our plan with the car shows.
Right. The good thing is we have a couple of local guys that do photography and stuff.
Okay.
And there's like, we have 3 guys that are pretty local to us that have YouTube channels that are like in our friend group. So they do pretty good coverage on that stuff. We've talked about the YouTube channel for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like just a podcast in itself is so much work.
It is. It absolutely
like
is.
Trying to line up like the shows every week, the content, editing, you know, it's a lot of goddamn work.
No, yeah, we have a team of folks, you know, it's the custom couple for us, but we have a producer that helps us out. We have, you know, a graphic arts guy that does our promotion stuff for us. And then
that's awesome.
You know, I've grown to find out that I am good at a lot of things, but I'm not the best at anything really.
Yeah, same.
So, but one of the things that I am good at is finding where people, you know, can be delegated into jobs and then making sure that, you know, that they get paid well for those jobs. And we find ways to make that happen. So,
yep.
And so that's really what our sponsors help us with, is to make sure that the team of folks that can get this podcast done, you know, are you know, making things happen every week for us. So, you know,
it's badass to have people helping out like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just having somebody do graphic arts is huge. Yeah. Having somebody just, you know, because like I'm sure you've done events or seen, you know, where the, you know, promoting and planning comes in for events. Just having the flyer done is one of the biggest parts of an event.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so, I do a chopper show at my place.
Okay.
At the end of every summer, and so my place is called the Unicorn Ranch. That's what we call like my homestead. It's just like I got like a 3-bay garage and a ranch house on 20 acres.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, we call it the Unicorn Ranch because my daughter loves My Little Pony. So I was like, let's call this place the motherfucking Unicorn Ranch.
There you go. You know, I've got a about to be 6-year-old daughter, and yeah, you're right. You do everything you can to make that little girl smile, I'm sure.
Yep. Yeah, man, look, I'll even turn the video and you can see my backdrop here.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, man, it's the Unicorn Ranch. Yeah, so we do a show here every year, and it's like you said, man, just getting the flyer done is because I don't have anybody. So it's like I reach out to like a couple local guys, and I'm like, can you please help me out? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it'd be nice to have that team for sure.
Yeah, so like, he does our promotions for us, and he's putting out a different, picture with a backdrop and everything for us with fonts and everything. And he's sick at it. I can give him something the night before and he'll knock it out and here you go.
Right. Yeah.
And, that's huge to have on a team, having the producer that we have that can knock out our recordings for us and take out all the little sound glitches and everything for us. That is huge. And it's things that it would take me a week to do.
Right.
I've got an amazing team here that we've built that, that we couldn't do this podcast without at this point. Like, it's just gotten to that point where they work like a machine, a well-oiled machine. So, yeah, man, it gets busy, man. But you're absolutely right. When you're trying to just get the podcast, it's like, that takes the main focus.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. A lot of people don't get it. It is a bunch of work.
Well, Fred, it's been absolutely awesome talking with you, man. Is there any folks you'd like to give some shout outs to on our show?
So one person I think you guys should I don't know if I haven't gone through your whole catalog yet, but if you guys haven't, man, Hot Rod Jen.
Yes, we have her on the list of people that we want to talk to for sure.
Yeah, she's like one of my idols when it comes to pinstriping. Another one is the guy Stitch I told you about, Stitch's Garage, and Cheney Customs. All those guys and girl are just my inspiration through my pinstriping career. So huge shout out to them. And if you guys haven't already, check us out at the Lowlife Chopper Podcast.
Absolutely, man. Well, folks, y'all have heard it on the Custom Couple, and in all things custom, keep it cool.
Bing, bang, boom. See you next Tuesday.
Don't say see you next Tuesday.
I can poop anywhere.
We know.